When the heavens darkened and the mountains began to crumble, everyone finally understood this was no longer a mere trial, nor a contest of pride. On that day, beneath collapsing peaks and roaring spiritual energy, a freshman stood where no one believed he could, facing monster's fate and the limits of his own body. This was the battle that would decide Victory Forge legends, and mark the moment when a name would be carved into the heart of the Northern Heavens Spiritual Academy. If you enjoy my way of explaining and storytelling, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really motivates me to keep creating. On the summit of the colossal peak, destructive fluctuations erupted violently from Mu Chen's body. Low, thunderous rumbles rolled endlessly from within him, reverberating through the air like the roar of a dormant god awakening. With every echo of thunder, the heavens themselves seemed to darken, clouds gathering as though the sky was being dragged into the turmoil. Countless gazes converged upon Mu Chen. Black lightning-like liquid flowed across his entire body, crawling over his skin like a living thing. After enduring shock after shock from his astonishing performance, the expressions of many spectators gradually settled into an eerie calm. Yet within that calm lay something strange and unfathomable, almost unnatural look, as Mu Chen had already surpassed all their expectations by a staggering margin. Are the current freshmen truly this powerful? Lin Zheng and Zhou Qingshan exchanged stunned glances, their eyes filled with disbelief. Never in their wildest imaginations had they thought that a mere freshman one, only at the initial phase of the heavenly transformation stage, could force Gu Tianyan into such a wretched and perilous state. Upon hearing this, Shen Changsheng and Li Xuantong's gazes met briefly in the distance. Plainly, they too were unable to comprehend the depth of the trump cards Mu Chen had revealed. Even so, this was not bad news. At least for now, the battle before them appeared to be tilting ever so slightly in Mu Chen's favor. Gu Tianyan stared at Mu Chen, whose figure had become terrifyingly oppressive. His expression grew increasingly solemn. The destructive aura radiating from Mu Chen's body sent an involuntary tremor through his heart. Power of this magnitude should never have appeared in the body of a freshman at the initial phase of the heavenly transformation stage. Drawing a deep breath, Gu Tianyan's scarlet-red spiritual energy surged forth, coiling around his arms like raging flames. Across the horizon, boundless crimson energy swept outward, resembling a prairie set ablaze by heavenly fire. At this moment, there was no longer room for mercy. Boom! As Gu Tianyan's spiritual energy exploded outward, Mu Chen, completely shrouded in black lightning liquid, stepped forward. In an instant, the earth quaked violently as thunder roared. Like a bolt of black lightning tearing through the world, Mu Chen shot forward. Seeing that black lightning streak rushing toward him with terrifying destructive power, Gu Tianyan's pupils shrank sharply. He clenched his hands, and scarlet-red spiritual energy erupted, condensing instantly into a long, flaming spear. Hong! The spear trembled violently before transforming into a blazing streak of light. Shattering space itself, it carried violent explosive fluctuations as it shot straight toward Mu Chen. Yet Mu Chen showed no intention of evading. His hand clenched tightly into a fist as the black lightning liquid wrapped around it. With a deafening rumble, he hurled his fist forward. Bang! The moment they collided, the flaming spear, capable of piercing a heavenly transformation late-phase expert, was blasted backward by Mu Chen's fist. It shattered into countless scarlet fragments that scattered across the sky like falling embers. In the same breath, Mu Chen's figure tore through the explosion, appearing instantly before Gu Tianyan. Bang! Bang! Without hesitation or restraint, Mu Chen's lightning-covered fists roared forth. Countless after-images filled the sky, blotting out heaven and earth as they slammed toward Gu Tianyan. Each punch carried terrifying power enough to warp the surrounding space itself. In the past, Gu Tianyan would have scoffed at such recklessness. Close combat against him was sheer folly given their difference in cultivation. But now, facing Mu Chen's onslaught, he dared not show the slightest carelessness. The current Mu Chen was simply too terrifying. The aura radiating from him was enough to instill fear even in Gu Tianyan. Boundless scarlet-red spiritual energy surged chaotically from Gu Tianyan's body. In an instant, his arms were encased in a majestic layer of scarlet crystalline armor, the embodiment of his highly condensed, spiritual energy. Having fully unleashed his power without restraint, Gu Tianyan's eyes burned with scorching intensity as boundless battle intent erupted forth. Roar! A furious howl burst from his throat as he stepped forward, fists roaring outward like a raging sea of combat intent. Boom! 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 In the blink of an eye, the fists of the two collided violently. Like meteors crashing into the earth, shockwaves erupted with terrifying force. All the spectators could see were black lightning and scarlet-red energy exploding wildly, the two figures colliding again and again. As the fist shadows faded, enormous craters littered the shattered ground. Countless people stood speechless. The raw, brutal clash of flesh against flesh sent chills through their hearts. No one had imagined this battle would descend into such savage ferocity. Bang! Under innumerable trembling gazes, the bloodshot-eyed fighters smashed their fists together once more. Visible shockwaves rippled outward, and the land beneath them fractured instantly. Bang! Rumble. Destructive lightning flashed within Mu Chen's eyes. The black lightning liquid writhed violently along his arm, unleashing torrents of annihilating power. Bang! Mu Chen's lightning-wreathed fist collided head-on with Gu Tianyan's crystal-covered arm. Black ripples surged outward. Gu Tianyan's expression changed drastically as cracks suddenly spread across the scarlet crystals on his fist. The destructive power of the black lightning invaded relentlessly, shredding and suppressing the spiritual energy within Gu Tianyan's body. Go back! A hoarse roar burst from Mu Chen's throat. The black ripples exploded violently as the crystal armor shattered completely. Gu Tianyan's body was hurled backward 1,000 meters through the air. At the same time, the recoil forced Mu Chen's feet deep into the rock beneath him, nearly flipping him over. He sent Gu Tianyan flying again. Shocked cries erupted across Spiritual Light Mountain. Excitement and disbelief burned in countless eyes. No one could have imagined that Mu Chen would become so terrifying as to drive Gu Tianyan back in a direct confrontation. Under the surging atmosphere, Mu Chen braced himself against the ground and pulled free, black lightning liquid dripping from his body. He raised his head toward Gu Tianyan. The latter's earlier arrogance was long gone. Blood streamed from his arms, his robes in tatters. His once blazing red hair now scorched black and disheveled. The power contained within that shattered black lightning bead far exceeded Mu Chen's expectations. It was terrifying beyond measure. Even with the lightning god's physique, severe internal injuries had formed within his body. Had he not cultivated the lightning god's physique, had he lacked the ability to temper his flesh with lightning, he would have been reduced to ashes long ago. Even so, he could not maintain this state for long. I have to end this quickly. The pain sharpened Mu Chen's clarity instead of overwhelming him. His gaze remained calm and focused, refusing to let fleeting advantage cloud his judgment. Bang! Suddenly, an overwhelmingly violent surge of spiritual energy soared into the heavens in the distance. Mu Chen looked up to see the horizon transformed into a blazing inferno. Within the sea of flames, Gu Tianyan stood tall. His eyes burned scarlet flames, seeming to erupt from within as his hoarse voice echoed across the sky. Mu Chen, with cultivation at the initial phase of the heavenly transformation stage, you are the first to force me this far. I admire your strength. If you can withstand this final move, today's victory will be yours. Without hesitation, Gu Tianyan clasped his hands together to form a seal. Scarlet-red spiritual energy surged wildly, converging into his grasp. Bang! Bang! As the energy condensed, a 10-meter-long scarlet halberd gradually took shape. It resembled a twisted fiery dragon, malevolent and domineering its crystalline body, radiating chaotic fluctuations. Roar! The dragon roared, and the world itself seemed to burn. He's even using that move. Lin Zheng and Zhou Qingshan's expressions tightened. This was Gu Tianyan's strongest attack. No one had expected him to be driven to this point. Shen Changsheng and Li Xuantong stared gravely at the sky. At this stage, both sides had revealed all their trump cards. Win or lose, Mu Chen had already earned unquestionable respect. So this is his final strike. Gu Tianyan's face paled slightly. With a fierce step forward, the halberd erupted with blinding scarlet light. Great heavenly fiery dragon halberd. Roar. Flames surged like an ocean as the halberd transformed into a blazing streak of light, the dragon baring its fangs as it charged toward Mu Chen. The earth cracked under the scorching gale. Mu Chen raised his head, black lightning raging within his eyes. He pressed his palms together. Black lightning liquid flowed violently, forming seals. Behind him, spiritual energy erupted, transforming into a vast starry sky. From it emerged a tiger and a tortoise, their forms wreathed in lightning. Roar, moo, dragon, tiger, tortoise. Under suffocating gazes, they collided, shattering the heavens. The heavens grew dark and heavy clouds pressing low, as every gaze around Spiritual Light Mountain locked onto the air above the colossal peak. Two terrifying forces howled through the skies, their presence alone enough to make countless hearts tremble. Like twin comets tearing through the firmament, they crashed violently into one another. In that instant, a deafening shockwave roared across the entire hunting grounds. Blinding light erupted forth, brilliant as a scorching sun. Its radiance pierced through the darkness of the world, forcing countless spectators to squint their eyes under the overwhelming glare. Boom! As that blazing sun bloomed across the heavens, the dragon, tiger, and tortoise unleashed every last shred of power within them without the slightest restraint. A spiritual energy storm, nearly 1,000 meters wide, was born in an instant. Its raging currents so violent that faint distortions rippled through the surrounding space. All eyes were fixed upon that incomparably massive storm. As the spiritual energy within grew increasingly chaotic, the storm itself began to warp and twist, as though it could no longer contain the devastating force locked inside. Creak. When the distortions reached their limit before anyone could even react, the storm exploded. 1,000-meter-wide waves of spiritual energy tore across the sky, sweeping everything in their path. It was a sight both magnificent and terrifying. At the forefront of the shockwaves, Mu Chen and Gu Tianyan bore the full brunt of the explosion. Despite desperately defending themselves, both were sent flying the instant the waves struck. Bang! Bang! Their bodies smashed through neighboring mountain peaks like falling stars. Bang! At last, both figures crashed deep into separate mountain peaks. Boulders collapsed and cascaded down, burying them beneath tons of rubble. The aftermath was no kinder to the spectators. Near the giant peak, many were flung about, like small fish caught in a raging torrent, tumbling helplessly through the air. Some were even more unfortunate, sent spinning as blood sprayed from their mouths. Fortunately, this devastation was merely the aftermath of the clash. After several long minutes, the raging spiritual energy storm slowly weakened, fading bit by bit. Only then did the stunned crowd begin to recover their senses, turning their gazes back toward the giant peak. Their mouths twitched involuntarily. The once towering peak had been utterly ruined. Massive cracks spread across it like a spider's web, splitting it apart from top to bottom. That single collision had all but destroyed the entire mountain. Shock and awe filled countless hearts. The destructive power displayed by these two was simply terrifying. What about the two of them? Someone finally voiced the question, lingering in everyone's mind. Immediately, gazes rushed toward the two collapsed mountain peaks in the distance. The students participating in the hunt were unbearably tense. Mu Chen's victory or defeat would determine whether they could obtain the spiritual light empowerment. Even Shen Changsheng and Li Xuantong had yet to move. They were waiting for Mu Chen to decide everything. As long as Mu Chen could secure a draw, the combined results would guarantee victory for them all. But if he lost, the final two battles would be unavoidable, and overturning the situation would be an almost impossible task, even for Shen Changsheng and Li Xuantong. After all, Lin Zheng and Zhou Qingshan were far from easy opponents. At this moment, Shen Kangsheng's and Li Xuantong's expressions grew increasingly grave. Their eyes were locked tightly on the collapsed peaks, hearts pounding despite their composure. In contrast, Lin Zheng and Zhou Qingshan appeared calm, yet the tension in their unwavering gazes betrayed their concern. The world fell into silence once more. An invisible pressure weighed heavily upon everyone, making it hard to even breathe. The same atmosphere gripped the northern square. Countless people stared at the massive light screen in the sky, fists clenched tightly. The battle had filled them with shock and awe, but in the end only the result mattered. Crash. Boom. Under innumerable watchful eyes, rocks suddenly shifted and tumbled from one of the collapsed peaks. A surge of scarlet-red spiritual energy shot skyward as a figure burst forth. "That's Gu Tianyan," someone cried out. The crimson light faded, revealing Gu Tianyan. His entire body was soaked in blood, his face deathly pale. The spiritual energy surrounding him was weak and exhausted, a far cry from his former dominance. Clearly that earth-shattering clash had taken a devastating toll on him. Seeing Gu Tianyan emerge, countless hearts sank. Though gravely injured, he was still capable of continuing the fight. But what about Mu Chen? All eyes turned toward the other collapsed peak, where there was no movement. Palms grew slick with sweat. That silence lingered. Creak. Suddenly rocks shifted and rolled away from the second peak. A faint black ray of spiritual energy surged forth. From within the rubble, a figure staggered into the sky before coming to a halt. It was Mu Chen. His body was drenched in blood wounds, torn and mangled. Compared to Gu Tianyan, he looked even more miserable. Yet despite everything, he stood straight in the air. His youthful figure appeared thin and fragile, his tattered robes fluttering in the wind. And yet that battered form radiated an imposing presence that made hearts tremble. Though his eyes were dim from injury, the way he stared at Gu Tianyan was fierce, like a wounded wolf or tiger refusing to fall. Countless gazes stared blankly at the blood-covered youth standing proudly in the sky. Then, the silence shattered beneath thunderous cheers. He had endured Gu Tianyan's strongest attack. Mu Chen had not fallen. Countless students erupted in excitement, faces flushed as they waved their arms. Their gazes toward that thin figure were filled with admiration and reverence, the same kind once reserved only for Shen, Changsheng and Li Xuantong. Too incredible. Even the three Wang brothers were flushed with emotion, their eyes filled with deep respect. Mu Chen's performance had completely conquered them, and they knew it wasn't just them. From this day onward, Mu Chen's status within the Northern Heavens Spiritual Academy would no longer be inferior to Shen Kangsheng or Li Xuantong. Figures like Su Xuan and He Yao had already been left far behind. Su Linga cheered excitedly, her cheeks red as she clutched Su Xuan's wrist. She had nearly suffocated from tension earlier, had Mu Chen lost that final exchange. Her heart would not have endured it. Su Xuan smiled, gently nodding as she looked at Mu Chen. Who could have imagined that just months ago this freshman had been unknown? Now, he might become the fastest rising freshman in the academy's history. Unlike the others, Luo Li remained calm. She gazed quietly at Mu Chen, a faint smile curving her crimson lips. She had always believed the youth she loved would shine like the stars. No matter the past, the present, or the future. Shen Kangsheng and Li Xuantong finally exhaled in relief. They nodded, slightly filled with newfound respect. In the sky, Gu Tianyan looked at Mu Chen with complicated emotions. Hearing the deafening cheers, he let out a bitter laugh. Once those cheers had been for him. Now the roles were reversed. Senior brother Gu Mu Chen said from afar, wiping blood from the corner of his mouth as a faint smile appeared. "If you feel it wasn't enough, I might still be able to accompany you for a move or two." Gu Tianyan laughed, relaxing his body. He waved his hand. "That's enough. If I say more, I'll anger the crowd. I said it before, if you could endure that move, this fight would be yours." He cupped his fists solemnly. "I have lost. With that, he acknowledged Mu Chen as an equal. "Thank you for holding back, senior brother Gu," Mu Chen replied with a nod. The cheers exploded once more. Mo Jing won. Yu Jing won. Even students in the northern square felt their blood boil. The elders on the podium nodded approvingly. "Dean, it seems our academy has gained another monstrous talent," an elder remarked. Dean Tai Kang smiled faintly. "Saint Spirit Academy may have Ji Xuan, but our Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy has Mu Chen." Amid the cheers, Shen Kangsheng and Li Xuantong turned toward Lin Zheng and Zhou Qingshan. "Senior brothers," they said with smiles. "Looks like it's our turn next." On the two giant peaks, Shen Kangsheng and Li Xuantong respectively turned their gazes toward Lin Zheng and Zhou Qingshan. At this moment, the expressions on their faces were clearly far more relaxed than before, a calm confidence evident within their eyes. Although Lin Jing and Zhou Qingshan were by no means easy opponents, so much so that even Shen Kangsheng and Li Xuantong could not claim absolute victory over them. Achieving a draw was not a difficult matter. Of the three battles, Mu Chen had already secured one decisive win. Even if both of them were to end in draws, or even if one of them lost, the overall outcome would still tilt in their favor. Naturally, losing a match was something they had no intention of doing. Mu Chen had already paid such a terrible price to claim victory. If they were to lose now, they would have no way to face the countless students watching. Lin Zheng and Zhou Qingshan exchanged glances, both letting out helpless chuckles. Neither of them had imagined that the final checkpoint would be pushed to such a situation. Around Spiritual Light Mountain, the cheers that had roared for a long while gradually softened. Countless gazes shifted excitedly toward the remaining two giant peaks. With Mu Chen's victory secured, the student side already seemed to have claimed half the final battle. As long as nothing unexpected occurred during Shen Changsheng's and Li Xuantong's fights, victory was all but assured. Seeing this, Mu Chen finally allowed his body to relax completely. What happened next was no longer within his control. He had done everything he could, and he had fully accomplished his objective. The moment he relaxed, the weakness suppressed deep within his body surged forth, causing him to stagger unsteadily. A clear, gentle fragrance suddenly bloomed behind him. Luo Li appeared at his side, and without the slightest hesitation over the blood covering his body, supported him with her slender white hands, gently resting him against her soft form. As she supported him, Luo Li looked at the heart-wrenching injuries covering his body. The wounds caused by the black lightning were horrifying to behold. To endure such power, Mu Chen had borne unimaginable pain. "Are you all right?" Luo Li asked softly, concern flickering within her clear, limpid eyes. Though she wished with all her heart to help him and spare him from such life-threatening battles, she understood that she could not interfere. This was not about pride, it was about responsibility. A responsibility Mu Chen had chosen to shoulder alone. Smiling faintly, Mu Chen wrapped an arm around Luo Li's slender waist, leaning fully against her delicate body. His frame trembled subtly from time to time as waves of intense pain surged from within, tremors so faint that only Luo Li could feel them. Her concern deepened even further. "From here on, nothing concerns me anymore," Mu Chen said as he looked toward the distant peaks. Whatever the final outcome, he could no longer interfere. "You've already completed the most crucial part." Luo Li replied gently. "There won't be much suspense in the remaining fights. Congratulations, you've truly become an influential figure at the peak of the Northern Heavens Spiritual Academy." "I don't care about that," Mu Chen replied, gazing at her exquisite face. "You came to the Northern Heavens Spiritual Academy for me. That already cost you precious cultivation time. I may not be able to make up for it entirely, but I can at least reduce your losses. I don't care whether others obtain the spiritual light empowerment, but it's something you must have." Luo Li stared at him in a daze. Despite the bloodstains on his face, he still looked as handsome as ever. A faint sting rose at the tip of her nose. So this was why he had risked his life. "I don't think I've lost anything," Luo Li said softly, a gentle smile blossoming on her lips. "On the contrary, especially during my time at the Northern Heaven Spiritual Academy, I've never been happier." Mu Chen smiled. His arm around her waist tightened slightly, as though he wished to pull her into himself. As Mu Chen lingered in her warm, fragrant embrace, Shen Changsheng and Li Xuantong slowly stepped forward on the two giant peaks under countless gazes. Bang! Boundless spiritual energy surged skyward as immense pressure flooded the heavens. In an instant, the entire sky was enveloped by their overwhelming auras. Clearly, both had already prepared to fight at full strength. Yet unexpectedly facing such pressure, Lin Zheng's and Zhou Qingshan's expressions remained calm and unchanged. Senior brother Lin Zheng, senior brother Zhou Qingshan, Shen Changsheng and Li Xuantong cupped their hands simultaneously and spoke in low, powerful voices. "Please give us your guidance." Bang! Their eyes sharpened instantly. With a stomp, their figures shot forward, a spiritual energy that blotted out the heavens surged violently. But just as they charged, Lin Zheng and Zhou Qingshan exchanged a glance, shrugged helplessly, and took a step back. They retreated. An uproar erupted instantly. Shen Kangsheng and Li Xuantong halted mid-charge, brows furrowing as they sensed no fighting intent from their opponents. "There's no need to continue," Lin Zheng said, with a helpless smile. "For this final checkpoint, let's consider it your win," Zhou Qingshan added casually. Stunned silence swept across the mountain. Then cheers that shook the heavens exploded outward. They had conceded. That meant the students had cleared the final checkpoint. Everyone would obtain the spiritual light empowerment. A year of bitter training had not been wasted. So they gave up. Mu Chen murmured, surprised yet unsurprised. Even if they fought, nothing could change the outcome. The elders soon appeared, announcing the final verdict. The hunt was over. Rewards were distributed. When Mu Chen offered the spirit crystal to Luo Li, the elders hesitated but ultimately allowed it. To Mu Chen, no reward was worth more than her. As radiant light enveloped everyone, Mu Chen finally exhaled deeply. At last, it was over. That's all for today's content. See you in the next part. Support me by becoming a member. It will give me more motivation. Thank you so much.